Today's Browns Report is presented by the Fetch Rewards app, where you can earn points on any receipt from any store or restaurant and then redeem those points for gift cards and other rewards. Check them out, chatsports.com/Fetch. We'll talk about them later on in today's video. But let's get into today's video, which is all about potential cut candidates for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe Andrew Berry looks at this roster and says, I can save some money here, dump this guy, allocate what his salary was to a free agent. So we'll look at some 5 cut candidates the Browns maybe want to move on from this offseason. Coming in at number 5, it is the tight end Austin Hooper. If you go back to that Browns-Steelers game where Baker Mayfield had a horrible start, well, it was bad, but Austin Hooper didn't help. You remember he had a couple drops, and that kind of summarized Austin Hooper in general. So let's look at the history with Hooper. He signed a 4-year, $42 million contract back in the 2020 offseason with the Browns, coming off a good couple seasons, even a Pro Bowler for the Falcons beforehand. But let's look at the cap numbers here, because this is what matters the most. What's he do? And if the Browns do cut him, how much do they still owe him? So he's going to have a $13.5 million cap hit next season. So if he's on the books next year, the Browns are going to pay him $13.5 million against the cap. That's a big number for someone that has not been very productive. However, if the Browns do cut Austin Hooper, they still have to pay him $11.2 million, and that goes against the cap. So you'll see that dead cap hit and his cap hit for other players throughout the video. Austin Hooper, since coming over to Atlanta, has fallen off a cliff. You look at the numbers on the left in his 4 seasons with the Falcons and now his 2 seasons with the Browns. Of course, he's had more time with Atlanta, but he's had more starts with the Browns, and he has not made the most of those starts. Across the board, he has just completely fallen off a cliff. I can't really attribute it very well because this Browns offense was designed to be very tight end friendly. Tons of formations that incorporate multiple tight ends, and Baker Mayfield, who likes to target tight ends. For whatever reason, Hooper in Cleveland has just not gone very well. It's been a bit of an oil and water situation since he's come over to the Browns. 2022, I think, will be the last year of Austin Hooper in Cleveland. I expect him to return next year because if the Browns cut him, they still have over $11 million to owe to him and against the cap. So I just don't see Andrew Berry looking at this guy going, he's so bad that it's worth cutting him and eating $11 million, where you might as well get something out of him for one last year. And then in 2023, it's a lot easier financially to get out of his contract, and you don't have to take such a big hit against the cap. But what do you think? Do you want the Browns to cut Austin Hooper? Give me a C for cut or a K for keep. This is the pinned comment, so it's super easy. Just scroll on down, cast your votes in the first comment in the description, in the comment section of the video, and then come back up for the rest of the video. On to number 4. It is CaseKeenum, the backup quarterback who a lot of people wanted to see more of. When Baker was having a tough stretch and he was injured, you had CaseKeenum on the bench, one of the highest paid backup quarterbacks, so why not get something out of him? We'll talk about CaseKeenum in a moment in more detail, but first, let's talk about our presenting sponsor today, the Fetch Rewards app, where you can get points by going to chatsports.com/Fetch and watch this video where it's super easy and explained. So the deal with Fetch is it's a super easy app, and it's a free app where you earn free rewards on literally anything you buy. Scan any receipt or e-receipt, and you'll earn points no matter where you shop or what you buy. And then you redeem those points for hundreds of rewards, including Amazon, Visa gift cards, or anywhere you like to shop and dine. Fetch is a totally free app, like I mentioned, and super easy to use, so make sure you download Fetch today. And listen, guys, we got a great deal going on. When you go to chatsports.com/Fetch and you use the promo code Cleveland, can't forget that, you get 3,000 free bonus points on the house to help you get on the way to getting free gift cards for just scanning and taking pictures of receipts you already have. Stop throwing them away. Make sure you use that link, chatsports.com/Fetch. It's in the comments and the description of today's video, so you can't miss it, and it's completely free. Back to CaseKeenum, though. My 4th cut candidate for the Cleveland Browns. He's got a bit of a price tag on his head, which makes me wonder if the Browns want to go a different direction. So, if you look at his 2022 season cap hit, it's a $7.8 million cap hit. That's a lot of money for a backup quarterback. But if the Browns release him, it's just a $1.3 million dead cap. So, unlike Austin Hooper, who's still at a huge dead cap hit, it's pretty small for CaseKeenum. So what that means is the Browns don't have to eat a lot of the cap because they cut him. It could save them $6 million plus, and maybe Andrew Berry wants to go that direction and find a different backup quarterback and someone that's a little more competitive. I think CaseKeenum's a fine backup. I think CaseKeenum has shown that he can even be a reliable starter at times in the NFL. I mean, look what he did with the Vikings. He nearly took them to the Super Bowl, the Minneapolis Miracle. But maybe Andrew Berry isn't in love with CaseKeenum and goes, you know what? We can save a lot of money by cutting you, and I want to switch it up and get a different backup in town. Maybe someone a little younger and not kind of an older, down the stretch kind of backup in CaseKeenum. My third cut candidate is Jack Conklin, an all-pro starting tackle, and I hate that he's on today's show. I really do, because the Browns' offensive line to start the year, and with Jedrick Wills healthy and playing well and that ankle's good, I think it's the best offensive line in the NFL. But Conklin's had a number of injuries in his career, so unfortunately he does come up on today's show. Before we get to the rest of Conklin, guys, if you want free Browns coverage all year long, including the entire offseason, then subscribe today. Hit that big red button and join the channel. We're putting content out all off-season long for the latest draft news, rumors, off-season, free agency. We're pumping out vids. Hit that big red button and join the channel if you have not already. Like I was saying with Conklin, he signed a 3-year, $42 million contract in 2020. This upcoming season, he carries a $15 million cap hit, but only a $9 million dead cap. So they could save $6 million by moving on from Conklin, and I wonder if the injuries would be enough. He suffered a very bad knee injury, a torn patella tendon in November against the Ravens, and it's just been a string of injuries for Conklin. Go back to his days with the Titans, where he tore his ACL in a playoff game in 2018. Then he comes back the upcoming year, misses the first couple weeks of training camp, and then in December, that knee just didn't really go away, so they shut him down for the last third of the season. And fast forward to November, where he goes down after injuring his bicep earlier in the year. He goes down in November with a torn patella tendon and 3 bad knee injuries. And I wonder if the Browns will look at that and go, you're just not the same all-pro player you once were. So 3 horrible knee injuries that are not easy to overcome. So I would love to see Jack Conklin come back and make a quick recovery. You're all rooting for that. Type 78, his number, in the comments section below to wish Jack Conklin a quick recovery, because hopefully he can bounce back from this injury and get back to that all-pro status we all know Conklin to be. Flood the comment section with 78, hoping that will send some good vibes to him, his knee, and we'll get him back at First Energy Stadium, brand new, ASAP Rocky. My second cut candidate, number 2 on the list, Andy Janovich, the fullback. I don't think this is very likely, but the Browns don't have a ton of candidates because they don't have a ton of guys making a lot of money. They have a lot of cap space coming this offseason, so they may not feel the need to move on from any of these guys, even if they're not worth the price tag they have, because, well, they've got the money anyway, so why not spend the owner's money? That's the GM's mindset usually, is it's not my money, it's not coming out of my wallet, so why not spend it? But fullbacks, they're a bit of a dying breed. And sure, Cleveland loves to run the football. That's what the Browns do best, honestly. So it's nice to see Nick Chubb have a buddy in front of him be a lead blocker. But Janovich, as far as fullbacks goes, makes a good, corner of cash. Over $1 million you can save, $1.5 million. That's counting pennies with over $200 million salary cap this upcoming offseason. But maybe Barry goes, I'd rather put that $1.5 million elsewhere. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but, it's a fullback. And in 2022, you don't see many fullbacks in the NFL, honestly. Number 1 on my list is someone I really don't want to see leave the Browns, but it is Jarvis Landry. We have to talk about him because we have to talk about the huge cap hit he's going to carry next season and the fact that the Browns can get out of a lot of the money they owe him by cutting Landry. But Jarvis Landry, let's get something straight here. He has been Mr. Brown. Since coming over to Cleveland, a lot of people have attributed the turnaround with the Browns to Baker Mayfield. But I think you've got to, Baker Mayfield ran because Jarvis Landry walked, okay? What Jarvis Landry has done for the Browns has been huge. Since coming to Cleveland, he has put up great numbers. He has changed the culture. He has instilled a winning culture in this locker room, and he has been an instrumental part, if not the biggest pilot in landing this plane out of the factory of sadness and into having success. And that's why moving on from Landry would be a major blow to the locker room. We'll look at his notes in just a moment, but AB, maybe he wants to keep him out of respect to what Jarvis Landry has done. He's got done a lot of great things for Cleveland, but financially it doesn't make much sense because he's got the second highest salary on the team's payroll, and he carries a $16.5 million cap hit next season. But if the Browns cut him, it's only a $1.5 million dead cap, so the Browns could save about $15 million by cutting Jarvis Landry. It's going to be a tough decision for Andrew Berry, no doubt about it. But do you want the Browns to keep Landry? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. I'll give you my take in a moment, but let me know what yours is in the comment section below. In a perfect world, yes, of course, keep Jarvis Landry. But saving $15 million for a wide receiver that had some knee injuries in, year number 8 last season, and you can save $15 million by cutting him. You can put that $15 million to a new wide receiver who's a little younger in his career and isn't coming off a knee injury. That's going to be a big question for Andrew Berry. He'll have to ask himself. But at the other side of things, you've got the money anyway. You've got some of the highest, you get the 13th highest cap space, I think, in the NFL. He's been such a huge part of this organization the last couple of years. I think the good thing and the respectful thing to do is to pay him the rest of his contract. He's got one more year left and then move on after that most likely. But maybe Berry, isn't about saving money, isn't about, doing maybe, I wouldn't say the right thing, but paying, respect to I wouldn't say the elders, but the veterans on this team. And instead he'd rather take that money and give it to a new wide receiver in free agency. We'll find out. It's going to be a busy offseason for Berry and what he wants to do with all these players who have kind of big cap hits this offseason. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and we'll catch you later here on the Browns Report.